talk to our membership engagement coordinator, John Wright, although he's not here today, but we have other staff there. You can leave your contact information if you want to receive notifications of upcoming events. And if this is the week you want to join the congregation, you can also do that here today.
I just have some short announcements before we get started. Some corrections on the order of service. There is no shik tonight. They cooked a wonderful dinner for Hotel de Zinc last night. And there is no reflection today. So in your order of service, we'll go straight from, I believe, return again into the anthem. And lastly, shots, shots, shots! I got great news. There's new shots. There's new COVID shots. COVID Safety would like to remind you that getting an updated vaccine really helps your immunity and helps protect others in our community who cannot afford to get sick. So please consider getting a shot for a good cause. And with that, let us begin our service. If you have a chalice at home with you, please light it along with me. Our chalice lighting words this week come from number 487 in our gray hymnal, words by Roberto Rojas. The bell is full of wind, though it does not ring. The bird is full of flight, although it is still. The sky is full of clouds, though it is alone. The word is full of voice, though no one speaks it. Everything is full of fleeing, though there are no roads. Everything is fleeing towards its presence.
With our centering words each week, we draw on the many sources of our living tradition. Today's words are from the ancient Buddhist philosopher Nagarjuna. Because the expanse of reality is not I, it is not a woman nor a man. It is completely freed from all grasping. How could it be designated as an I? In all phenomena without attachment, neither woman or man are conceived. Neither woman nor man are conceived to tame those who are blinded by desire. Woman and man are constructed concepts.
I'd now like to invite all those who are young or young at heart to join us up here on our orange and green and yellow and very fall quilts. Good morning, friends. It's so good to see you. I'm going to be up here, peering down at you like a bird in a tree for this story. Ooh, somebody brought a friend, a hamster. Ooh, fun. All right. So, my friends, this story is from a long time ago. From the faraway land of Tibet. It's a riddle, okay? So maybe you'll solve the riddle, unlike the main character of this story. Once upon a time, there was a very lazy man. Other than bending his head down and reading text, he did nothing to help his family. Not only that, his wife even had to collect and put away all those texts he was looking at. After a long time, without the man doing any work other than eating food, the living conditions of his family worsened day by day. One day, his wife said to him, "Hereafter, I must do a lot of work and take care of the family. You take care of the texts you look at." The intellectual promised to abide by her conditions, but like before, he made his wife pick up and put away his text. Besides, he made her write clearly on what he was fond of looking at, the Yeshe story that he had in a box. Now the wife, knowing that this man was very lazy, sought to make a way to make him use his brain and played a joke on him. She gathered up all the text and put them in 3 boxes. On each of the boxes, she wrote, "The Yeshe story is in the first box. The Yeshe story is not in this box. And then the Yeshe story is not in the first box." After she did that, she said to the lazy man, "Among these 3 boxes, 1 is right and 2 are not. Which one is correct?" The lazy man used his brains but didn't know which box was where the story actually was. What do you guys think, friends? What do you think? Which box do you think the story's actually in? 2? Okay, I got some 2s. I got some 3s. I got some 1s. Yeah, all right, the wife is very clever, so let's find out. All right. That's box 1. Empty. Number 2.
Microphone.
Number 2, thank you. Number 2. So how come it was in the second box? On one hand, it said it was in the first box, but on the other hand, it said it was not. The 2 contradict each other. If one was all right, the other is false. If it were in the first box, then what is written on the first and the second box are all right, but the conditions do not agree. But if it were in the third box, then what is written on the second box and the third box are all right, but the conditions do not agree. Hence, when it's in the second box, everything is perfect. Everything agrees. All right, my friends, thank you for listening to my tale today. Please rise now in body or spirit and join us in singing number 1031, Filled with Loving Kindness. After the song, our young friends will be invited to go to religious education. We now turn our thoughts to the important events of our lives which we wish this community to share. If you have a joy or a sorrow that you would like me to speak this morning, post them in the chat box provided by Zoom, and they will be shared aloud. In the future, you can always write them on one of these cards before the service, and let us begin. Blessed be.
Today's reading comes from the Therigatha, a collection of poems written by early enlightened Buddhist nuns. Scholars say this collection is the first written expression of women's spiritual experiences. In this particular poem, a nun named Soma is in dialogue with Mara, the Buddhist concept of illusion. Mara begins by speaking to Soma. It is hard to get to the place that sages want to reach. It's not possible for a woman, especially not one with only 2 fingers worth of wisdom. Soma replied, what does being a woman have to do with it? What matters is that the heart is settled and that one sees what really is. Please join in singing Return Again, number 1011, in the teal hymnal. The words are on screen and in the online order of service.
So good morning. This is a round, and so it's a very simple round, only 2 parts. So I will teach you both parts, and then we'll sing it together. And because it's only 2 parts, we'll divide right down the middle. So we will have this side of the room start, and then when we get to the second half of the piece, this side of the room will start. And the choir will help you. Choir, why don't you keep the original plan and just stand where you are, and that way you can just leave your teal hymnals when it's time for the anthem. So this is the first half of the round, and Veronica and I will sing it for you, and then you can sing it back with us. All right? Here we go. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Good. Let's sing that together if you weren't already singing. Let's try that together. 1, ready, and. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Good. Then that section repeats once, and when we get to the end of the second time, you just stay on you stay on the upper notes, so you don't go down to here. And then this is the second half, which will also repeat. It sounds like this. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. And then that section will also repeat, okay? So first, this half of the room will start. When they get to the second section, so they've repeated the first section, we'll start, and we'll do it together 3 times. So each section will sing yours 3 times through. First group, when you get to the end, you're going to get to the end before they do. So just repeat the second half, and eventually you'll join them and we'll end together. Okay? Here we go. Starting with this side of the room. 1, ready, and. Return
So, did anybody have the pleasure of taking the 101 to get here this morning? Man, oh man. Traffic is like samsara. Hear me out. Imagine it's a beautiful, bright, sunny day, much like today. The sky is endless blue, the weather is perfect, and you should be on the beach or in the forest or even at church to be taken advantage of it. But here you are instead, stuck in traffic, on the 101, moving at the speed of inches. Beep, beep, beep. You may think about exiting the interstate, taking the back roads to your destination, but you glance over and there are lanes and lanes burying you from your exit. You may desperately glance at that Buddha statue on the side of 101 as the Teslas and the trucks press against you, hurling towards liberation at the speed of molasses. Get me out of here! And yet, like the rest of us on this planet, on this plane of reality, like all the humans, we are stuck in this endless cycle of death and rebirth, samsara. Now, the subject of, I got a Gersher box beneath me. The subject of our sermon today, she didn't have to deal with traffic. Well, at least traffic from cars. Maybe there were like some yak traffic incidents, I imagine. We head now to the land of Tibet in the region of Khartoum and during the 8th century, where our subject, Yeshe Tsogyal, was born a princess. The story of Yeshe's life comes from the Tibetan spiritual literature tradition of Namtar. And these are tales of liberation from samsara. And they are rich in instructions, in symbolism, in doctrine of Tantra, veiled in aesthetic language and song for those who are astute enough to know what it means. Now, Yeshe, she is the founding mother of Tibetan Buddhism. Her birth was an auspicious one in which her royal father dreamt of a grand stupa so tall that people from India and China and Mongolia and beyond could see it and all came towards it. He dreamt that a voice proclaimed that the light filled the universe with 1 billion worlds. And even her royal mother dreamt of holding a necklace filled of conchs and corals in which great quantities of blood and milk flowed out to thirsty people, with a voice booming that this shall not run dry until the end of this age. Now, if these nighttime visions were not enough to solidify that something big is about to arrive, the parent surprise visitor at sunrise surely did. The Lady of the Lotus Born, which is the story of Yeshe's life and ministry, states that a mysterious visitor who was lovely like a daughter of the gods just appeared out of nowhere, and she proclaimed, "In the house of this princely father, the Buddha has arisen, the Dharma and the Sangha. Ah la la, this is a marvelous wonder." And then she vanished. Miss, do you want some tea? I don't know, maybe the divine don't get a Union 5. Anyways, Yeshe is born without problems for her mother. The Lady of the Lotus Born book describes it as quite a sight. The earth shakes, flowers flood down from the sky. The palace is encased in a tent of rainbows. What a baby shower. As soon as she is born, Yeshe has a full head of hair, black blue hair down to her waist, and she could speak. In a month's time, Yeshe grew quickly to an 8-year-old. Man, imagine the clothing budget for that 1 month. I want to take a break from mythical children and talk about the landscape of 8th century Tibet and Buddhism. Buddhism first entered Tibet 5 centuries earlier, so even farther back. And Tibet's natural remoteness and the mountains protected and cultivated not only the early Indian Buddhist practices that fell out of practice in India, but it also protected and cultivated native Tibetan Buddhism, rituals and practices. The translator of the Lady of the Lotus Born states, "So seamless is the tradition of Tibetan Buddhism that if one were to take a Lama writing or commenting on a scripture at the end of the 20th century and place him alongside one of his forebearers of the 10th, one would discover a similarity of thought, expression, and attitude that renders them virtual contemporaries." This is one reason why Tibetan Buddhism really stands out among Buddhist sects. Anyways, let's go back to the 8th century. Ooh, a lot of time travel today. So, despite his fabulous vision and everything that happened with the birth of his daughter, Yeshe's father, as the years go on, begins to focus on the mundane aspects of life in the real world. And in that case, it is time for Yeshe to get married. And Yeshe, this is a tale of liberation, so you can probably tell what she says. No, she doesn't want to get married. She wants to study the Dharma. She wants to cultivate her spiritual practices. Her reluctance echoes her spiritual master, Prince Siddhartha's own story of wanting to leave as an ascetic as a young man, despite tradition and orthodoxy saying that that role was only for an old man, much to the dismay and detriment of his family. And Yeshe also disappoints her family by denying their orthodoxy. When she is told she is going to be given away in marriage at 16 years old, Yeshe flees the palace. Now, her time away is horrifying as a solo girl in the 8th century, but still, no matter what happens to her, she manages to practice the Dharma. Her plight, in her own words, may even sound modern to some of us. Here's what she said: "I am a timid woman and of scant ability, of lowly condition, the butt of everyone. If I go for alms, I am set upon by dogs. If food and riches come my way, I am the prey of thieves. Since I am beautiful, I am the quarry of every lecher. If I am busy with much to do, the country folk accuse me. If I don't do what they think I should do, the people criticize me. If I put a foot wrong, everyone detests me. I have to worry about everything I do. That's what it's like to be a woman. How can a woman possibly gain accomplishment in Dharma? Just managing to survive is already hard enough." Girl, I feel you. It is hard. However, she was brought back by force, and she was forced to marry the Emperor of Tibet, Tri Songtsen. And now it's in his court that Yeshe meets someone that will not only change her life, but change the entire history of Tibet. So, in the emperor's court one day, a guru named Padmasambhava arrived from India to spread the teachings of Buddha and to stop those by tantric means of those who sought to suppress Buddhist doctrine. Well, okay, so perhaps the emperor was really so beset with throngs of unbelievers, or perhaps the emperor took pity on Yeshe as she watched this holy man in rapt attention, or perhaps he felt that Yeshe's sorrow was so great that being married to her was a complete drag. We'll never know. But what is said in the story is that the emperor gave Yeshe to the guru as an offering. When this occurred, Yeshe beseeched the guru, asking if she could be enlightened since she was merely a woman. And the guru replied affirmatively, "For spirituality has no gender limitations. Enlightenment is for all of us." So the teacher freed Yeshe, and soon enough she became his main disciple and consort. Perhaps in the end, the emperor knew that Tibet needed Yeshe just as much as it needed Padmasambhava. After all, the book of her life begins with the guru himself calling her forth as an aspect of the goddess Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom. He literally calls her into existence and tells the king that without her, his work won't get done. Now, in Buddhism, and in particularly the Tibetan tradition of Buddhism, the teacher-student relationship is key to becoming enlightened. Since religion is, after all, human-made, it requires human relationships to be transmitted and to be understood. It's one thing to intellectually read about the Dharma, Sangha, the community. It's another thing to actually live it, and live it in a way that liberates you from samsara. In fact, a disciple meeting their teacher may be the most crucial moment of that person's samsaric existence, as the Buddha nature of the guru and the disciple sync, as disciple meets teacher. This crucial relationship hopefully will awaken the guru within the disciple. This sacred relationship is called samaya. Tosko speaks of her relationship with her guru justly. All of the teachings of the Buddha were present in the precious master. He was like a vessel filled to overflowing. And after I had served him, he gave to me, the woman, Yeshe Tsogyal. He poured it all out from one vase to another. She served her teacher faithfully for years as his disciple. And it's because of her work that we know of his influence. Yet only after her enlightenment. Yet it is only after her enlightenment when the guru sings to her in celebration, celebrating that she did it, that even with her body as a woman, she did it. In the supreme body of a woman, he says, you have gained accomplishment. Your mind itself is Lord. Request him for empowerment and blessing. There is no other region than of the Lotus Guru. And then he tells her, and then he departs with these final words. There I am in front of anyone who prays to me. Never will I separate from those who have faith. Having given her this wisdom, the guru leaves Tibet and leaves her in despair. And this is where we see in the book Yeshe at her most human. It was like waking from a dream. Yeshe speaks of her heartbreak, and then, in the midst of despair, grief, there was illumination. She says, I gained a fearless confidence. The nest of hopes and fears fell to nothing, and the torment of the defiled emotion was cleared away. I experienced directly that the teacher was inseparable from myself. Thus, she saw the truth. She saw through the illusion that we are all separate from each other. Knowing this, Yeshe sets upon decades of work to liberate humanity. She gathers disciples and she founds monasteries throughout Tibet. She's a very, very busy lady for about 9 decades. I want to say some words on Tantra, which will not be enough because this topic invokes sensationalism in the West. These tantras are almost exclusively Tibetan Buddhist, with aspects of Mahayana and Vajrayana practice. They are a fast track to the state of Buddhahood within one human lifetime, as opposed to eons and eons. So Tantra focuses on the removal of desire for the flesh, and is usually practiced within marriage. It's Through this heightened sexual awareness and practice, that you can gain control and gain knowledge. Guru Rinpoche, another name for her guru, states that the secret nature of these practices are not because they're shameful or dysfunctional, but it's because they are powerful and therefore very perilous. They're only to be used by the appropriate people at the appropriate time. And this seems kind of hard to grok from a Western point of view, where sex is either seen as something so sacred it's only for childbirth in marriage, or something that's so trivialized that it's plastered on every billboard. Like all Buddhist approach, it's somewhere in the middle is where we want to be. The Tantra way is not for everyone. The ability to feel but not crave, to experience and yet hanker for more, or indeed for anything, is a mark of long training and a sign of spiritual stature. That being said, combining sexual energy under the power dynamics of teacher to student is a very dangerous practice, in my opinion, filled with pitfalls and perils, as we can see with the recent sexual abuse cases that are coming out of Tibet. In search of the sacred, we must not hurt each other along the way. We're companions on this same ship. These teachings are not widespread and decimated because other paths are less fraught with danger than this one to enlightenment. There are easier ways. Still, however, the use of sexual energy as a means to spiritual enlightenment is binary breaking. It suggests that there is creative ways and means with compassion to get beyond the current system than died solely doing traditional spiritual things like praying or fasting. Yeshe's story also stands out because it is the story of the first ever enlightenment in Tibet, and it stars a woman. Women are mentioned as an aside in most religions, including Buddhism. Our non-binary siblings are mentioned even less. There's a trope that often arises when you have these stories of women seeking spiritual wisdom from literature both of the East and the West. So, a woman's role in the ancient world, East or West, was not to go out alone and attain spiritual wisdom. Her role, whether she was in Antioch or Lhasa, was to marry and procreate. We see this in Yeshe's story, and we see this also in Tekla. Tekla was an early Christian. She lived around the 1st century during the formative years of Christianity. And her story is documented by the Acts of Paul and Tekla, an early Christian text. Tekla, like Yeshe, did not want to get married. She refused to follow society's dictates and instead chose to follow her guru, her teacher, Paul, around. She traveled around with him on evangelizing missions, and she lived a life of celibacy and service. Yeshe's mythical existence, and mystical, maybe a lot for readers from the West to take in. Yet her story is not meant to be read as a history. As a translator, Chomi Dorma states, as a historical figure, she is a model disciple and now serves as an ideal role model. Dorma states that her story is a manual for next generations, for all of us, regardless of gender identity. And so her story continues to live on in Tibet. In fact, the most recent incarnation of Yeshe Tsogyal is Sarah Kondro, who was born in 1892 and died in 1940. Yeshe's story continues to teach that not just women, but all genders, everyone, is able to be enlightened. Enlightenment is accessible for all. Our physical forms have no bearing on whether or not we're able to escape from samsara. It's only through egoless action that we are freed. Her example demonstrates that enlightenment is not limited by gender or social status. It's there for us all. May all sentient beings hear Yeshe's words and be free from suffering. May it be so.
We create this space together, not out of wood and glass, nor even out of electricity and binary signals, but out of our presence. Wherever we are today, we have chosen to be together, hoping that together we can do so much more to make our lives into all that we dream of, and make our world into the one we hope to see. If we are moved by gratitude to each other, we may choose to support, with whatever financial resources we can, this community that we are creating and that is creating us. You can use cash or check or the QR code or text info in the order of service. Text, quote, info. The offering will now be given and received.
Thank you. Please rise now in body or spirit and join in singing the oneness of everything. I think it is, 1052 in the teal hymnal. The words are on the screen. Thank you, Yuri. Whether online or in the main hall, please stay after the benediction for some conversation time. We all begin with greeting time, a chance to speak to someone that you haven't met before or haven't seen in a while. Now, if you are online, please unmute yourself, turn on your video, and touch hands virtual. Jesse, can you do the virtual hand touching? Thank you. While we say our benedictions together, if you're in the main hall or on the patio, please reach out to hold hands if you and the person next to you are comfortable with that. Or to show that you're connected in spirit, you can cross your hands over your heart like this. All right. Go out into the world in peace. Be of good courage. Hold fast to what is good.
Return no one evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted.